The silent girls acted out a life they could only dream of and committed it to tape.
Right, I'll get back here, Biscuit. I must show you the way woman is nice dress. Thank you. Steps going down the steps. And see you now through the door. Hi, Neil. So nice to see you. Hi, you. Boy, you look smashing in those clothes. You look lovely in that dress. Don't you? You look lovely.
For you, my dear sister, holding on to me forever. Disco dancing with the rapists. Your only crime was silence. I'm doing the grave of one of the silent twins. I'll go through the mystery and the story. It's crazy. I hope you enjoy. Now, this is a crazy story which seems to have, in the rise of the internet, become quite a internet mystery. A bit like the farmstead murders I did in Munich. This is a story that's seems to have captured people's imagination. It's about two twins who only communicated with each other. At one time it was believed they had created their own language and would only speak to each other. But it turns out they did speak English, but very, very, very quietly. We were in Haverfordwest, which is not how the Welsh say it, but I'm English. I've been in this graveyard, things you don't see, for over an hour. It's so hot. So I'm going to do my best with this one. So the sisters were born on the 11th of April 1963. They were the only children of colour in the community, and they were kind of ostracised and not really spoken to at school, which had a horrendous effect on the children, and they totally reclused and only communicated with each other, didn't speak to their parents. They did speak to their younger sister Rose, but that soon stopped as well.
Wherever possible, the twins will queue and sit together for the meal, and will often eat in unison. During meal times, the rest of the children take absolutely no notice of the two girls. Although the twins start their dinner at the same time as the other children, the amount of food they put on the fork and the speed at which they eat is so slow that while everyone else is finishing their second course and leaving the dining room, the twins are still busy with their first.
So this led to the teachers letting them go early to avoid them getting bullied and picked on. All these things were having a worse effect on the twins. Jennifer and Jennifer Gibbons, if I haven't said that already. And they were almost mirroring each other as they were growing up. And this just didn't happen for like a couple of years. This happened for like why the mystery grew until one of them died. But we're talking they're in school, they're in primary school when this is happening. They refused to read and write at school because they only communicated with each other, which had a damning impact on their studying, no doubt. When a medic came to administer vaccines to the girls, She was so alarmed by their behaviour, she told a child psychiatrist who got involved with the case. They were sent to separate boarding schools, which had a worse impact than they could imagine, because they just became catatonic and just didn't speak to anyone. So they felt like they needed to be in contact with someone, and better be in contact with each other than no one. When they came back from boarding school, they just isolated each other for years. They were just isolated in their rooms. They played with the dolls and they had their own little worlds, but professionals and parents were incredibly concerned about their behaviour. So this is their grave. The epitaph is changed from what I've always led to believe, though it appears to have died, unfortunately. And it now reads, "Those who we love don't go away. They walk beside us every day. R.I.P. Still loved, sadly missed." And very dear. It used to read when it was just Jennifer Gibbons. It used to read, "We once were two, but we made one, but now we're we once were two, but as one we made." I'll put it up. When they reached adulthood, they would drink and do drugs, and their behaviour became one of a criminal nature, but petty crime. Graffiti, vandalising, things like that. But then on Snowdrop Lane, not far from where we are, the girls started a fire to a tractor shed and caused quite a lot of damage, and they were sent to prison, but they were sent to Broadmoor because of their muteness. And the song I was singing at the start was the Manic Street Preachers' Tsunami, one of my all-time favourite bands. I can't speak highly enough about one band more than the Beatles and the Manics. And the line, "disco dancing with a rapist," was because she would go, the sisters would go to the discos at Broadmoor with like Sutcliffe and Brady, and it's like, oh dear.
Two daughters who were growing up, going through adulthood in somewhere like Broadmoor. And he would say, well, imagine how you would feel if your daughters were in somewhere like that and going to a disco on a Saturday night with people like Peter Sutcliffe there.
June and Jennifer were kept on separate wards. After 2 years, they were still not speaking. Now officially diagnosed as schizophrenics, they were given tranquilizers and other drugs. They began to speak.
They were in Broadmoor for 11 years. God. And from Broadmoor, they would write letters. They even wrote to the Queen saying they'd been incarcerated in Broadmoor for X amount of years, and they were kind of juvenile when they did the crimes, and they felt the punishment was very harsh. It does seem a little extreme. I mean, their argument is if we weren't mute, if we weren't quiet, we would be out and we wouldn't be in Broadmoor and we would be free. We're being punished for our muteness, which is probably a good point. Now slowly the case started to get media coverage. Marjorie Wallace wrote a book called The Silent Twins. I read that book when I was a teenager. I'll be honest, I don't overly remember enjoying the book. I heard about the case and I was really interested. It's a lot bigger than when I was first read about it. it would be through the Manics that I was interested in the story. I used to research what Manic songs were about because I adored them so much, and I would have bought the book on the back of that. But I remember I was young, I was like 15. It didn't grab my imagination like it does now. I haven't subsequently read the book, and I can't really remember it, if I'm being totally honest. I do have a copy somewhere, not sure where. Now, this Marjorie Wallace was a journalist who wrote the book, and she said that the girls had an agreement that if one of them were to die, the other one must carry on as normal and do normal things and enjoy normal life. And during their time at Broadmoor, it was getting to a point where their behaviour whenever they were parted was so, excuse the pun, manic. They just couldn't live without each other or with each other. They were fighting, they resented each other, but they needed each other. We believe in one another. That's Oasis, that has nothing to do with it. During their time in Broadmoor, it was getting to the point where they both believed that one of them needed to die so the other could move on and live a normal life, because what they were living in was misery. And it's said that Jennifer agreed to make this sacrifice, and in March of 1993, March the 9th, when the twins were being moved from Broadmoor to a open hospital in Bridgend, when they arrived at the hospital in Bridgend, Jennifer had died. Very mysteriously, very weirdly. She died, her head was on June's lap, her eyes were wide open, and she was unresponsive. It said she died from an enlarged heart, but the death remains a mystery and remains very confusing to all those that are interested in the case.
Jennifer died of acute myocarditis, inflammation of the heart muscle, a rare disorder that is seldom fatal.
March the 9th, 1993. Today my beloved twin sister Jennifer died. She is dead. Her heart stopped beating. She will never recognise me. Mum and Dad came to see her body. I kissed her stone-coloured face. I went hysterical with grief.
And afterwards, when Marjorie Wallace visited June, just a couple of weeks, June is said to have said, "I'm free, at last, liberated, and at last Jennifer has given up her life for me." She described it as a tsunami washing away her sins and being free of her sister, which is probably where the Manics title comes from. Now, June lives here somewhere in this little town. She lives a normal life. She's done a few interviews about it, which is where I've got the documentary from. But it's an incredibly mysterious case. And when I wanted to come and see the grave, it took so long to find the grave. So this video is probably rushed because I've got a bit of sunburn and the cricket's on, so I want to watch it. But thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'll try to do as many graves as I can. I can't believe how long it took me to find that grave. But thank you so much for watching. It's a really interesting story. I'll link the documentary that I'll put some video to, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm in Wales. I'm trying to have a bit of time off from doing even this. So
I'm still a twin now, and that won't change, will it? She might be like here more. I'm born twin and I'll die a twin. That's the way it goes.